Thought that was pretty incredible. What about you all? So now we're going to have the opportunity to hear from some of the folks that were part of this film. First off, I'd like to introduce, once again, the 19th president of Davidson College, Doug Hicks, who will be moderating this panel. Next, you all know him, 33 years, over 600 wins, numerous championships. But as you saw, we also refer to him now as Stephen Curry's coach, Bob McKillop. When he retired from the NBA, he was the Charlotte Hornets' leading player in points and three-pointers made. He was the 1994 NBA Sixth Man of the Year, but you all can refer to him as Stephen Curry's father, Del Curry. And last but not least, class of 2008, two-time first-team All-Conference, teammate of Stephen Curry, and if you didn't have this person, he would have never made all the points that he scored at Davidson. And you all can refer to him as Jason Richards, Stephen Curry's teammate. And with that, Doug, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Let's give Chris Clooney, our wonderful AD, a round of applause. Wow, what an emotional movie. What a great story. And the great part of it is it's true. Coach McKillop, Bob, let's start with you. There's so much emotion in the movie, and you were such a key person in the documentary and in Steph's story, which continues. What's it like for you to relive those moments from recruiting Stephen? You knew him even before that, I think, or had seen him play some other sports. But what's it like to relive knowing him earlier on till now?
I cried throughout the film, and I think tears were part of the journey for all of us here. They're a gift from God, and it means your heart can be touched. And if there's one constant about Stephen Curry, he has touched our hearts. He plays with such great joy, and win, lose, success, failure, he always has joy, and you never leave him without being more joyful. So to me, that is one of the key components of who he is.
And he represents Davidson so publicly. He's probably our best known alum. I think that's pretty safe to say. And what is it about Stephen, do you think, that represents Davidson so well?
I think it was Francis of Assisi who said,
there we go.
Preach the gospel at all times, but only use words when necessary. And Stephen clearly does that in his life as a basketball player, as a teammate, as an alum, as a sibling, as a son, as a spouse, and as a father. That's an extraordinary list of what he does, and he wears that hat so very well.
That's great. And I saw, I think Professor Gail Kaufman is in the house, and there are other professors who taught Stephen Curry. And I just like to give a round of applause to all the faculty, staff, and others. You all are a vital part of this story, and I think Coach McKillop represents you all and us so well. Del, you've seen that Stephen was destined for greatness for a long time. He changed his shot. It was a good move. You've been there to support him all along. Does he still impress and surprise you?
Yeah, I don't know about destined for greatness. I know changing his shot, he'd be a lot better basketball player. And we've seen his accomplishments on the floor, but he continues to impress me as the person that he is. He'll always be a champion off the basketball court after he finishes his basketball career. You see everything he's doing with unanimous, underrated golf, underrated basketball. He's been underrated his entire basketball career, and I think now he's giving back to that community and that space and using his platform. I see him as a father, husband, the patience that he has. He's been asked to be pulled in a lot of different areas, to be able to give everybody the time that they ask for, but to do the things on the court and the amount of time and dedication that requires. It's a hard mix. Not a lot of guys can do that. He can be a killer on the floor and get home and be a normal guy. Not a lot of guys can do that either and be as good as he is. So he continues to impress me with the person that he is and the way he uses his platform.
As a father, is it more was it more exciting to see him at Davidson, beat Wisconsin, or to see him win that fourth title and to hug him in Boston Garden?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I think it all started there. It's beating Wisconsin, and that whole year, I think he grew in confidence. But to win a world championship is going to trump anything. To beat the best players in the world when nobody expects it, that beats anything.
How about you, Jason? You were a big brother on the team. You were a key teammate without whom Stefan's career at Davidson wouldn't have been possible. What was the... just go with it.
I appreciate that.
What was it like to be his teammate at the time, and how has that experience continued to affect you?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's when Steph showed up on campus, you knew there was something special about him. And seeing him put in the time, I think you got a glimpse of that, of the work ethic that he has. It was second to none. Even though he was a freshman, he came in as a leader. And I think that's one thing that made us so good as a team, is we accepted a freshman coming in and being the guy. So to see him grow from Davidson to where he is now, like Dell said, we'd be lying to you if we saw this coming. But at the same time, it doesn't surprise me, because he perfects his craft and he continues to get better every single day. And Coach had a saying when we were players, is that we just wanted to get better every single day. And I think that's something that Stefan does on and off the court, and that's why he's so successful in so many parts of his life.
I think it was Malika Andrews yesterday who said, I don't know if she was hyping the film or she just wanted to use the phrase underrated, but on the broadcast she said, I'm asking you this, Jason, that if it's possible, he is still underrated for what he means to the team. I wonder if you could comment on that.
100%. It's funny, you even listen to, if you guys watch SportsCenter or any type of sports television, they continue to question his greatness, which is shocking to think about, because everything he's done at Davidson, in the NBA, off the court, it's truly amazing. He's one of the greatest players to ever step on the floor. But Stefan continues to have that underrated chip on his shoulder, which is why he's hungry, going for a 5th championship this year. And that's, I think, part of his drive.
Del, I wanted to ask you, I think the Curry household has the most three-pointers of any family in NBA
that'd
history.
Be correct.
And so at Thanksgiving, do you ever, you and Seth and Stefan ever go out and, have a contest, and who would win?
We used to, not lately. We're too spread out across the country, and that's in the heart of the basketball season. But we get together in the summer times. It's a good game. It's a long game. I'm a little longer in the tooth now. I got to get my wins early, but it's still always a good time when we get together. But normally we talk golf. Jay Ritchie Company now, I do a lot of golf talk.
Awesome. Well, Bob, I'm going to give you the last question. Those scenes at Davidson, down Main Street or Concord Road, and seeing the bus load up and seeing the hordes of Davidson fans, staff, faculty, students, neighbors, greeting the bus and wishing the bus well as you all went off to tournaments. This film in many ways is about, obviously, Stephen Curry. In other ways, it's about Davidson College as a community. I just wonder if you might be able to sum it up for us, what it felt like to be on that bus and to feel that support.
I think every student here and every faculty member and staff member should feel some ownership of this film, because Stephen Curry has made that happen. You talked to me about Kevin Durant. What college did he go to? James Harden, what school did he go to? I mean, some of us know that. But I don't think it's a general comment that the population knows where James Harden went to school or where Kevin Durant went to school. Everyone knows where Stephen Curry went to school because Stephen Curry has wanted it known ever since he left here after his third year. And getting his degree, he honored his commitment to Dell, to Sonia, to his teammates, to Davidson, to our staff, honoring your commitment. You see Davidson up there in this film, and you see that the star lead actor in this movie is a guy who's honored his commitment. You as a student, as a staff member, as a faculty member, man, you should feel so very proud. So he makes all of us so very proud.
Thank you.
He did it so unassuming. I had no idea he was finishing his degree the entire year. He called me at the end of the season last year and said, "Pops, I got to tell you something." I went, "Uh-oh, what?" He said, "I just graduated." I had no idea. So he continues to move the needle, do things in an unassuming way. For everything he's doing in his philanthropy, he's hands-on, but he steps back and let other people take the lead. He's a special person.
Jason, you work with him. Why don't you make the final comment?
That's tough to follow up. One thing I do want to say is, Dr. Kaufman, if you're in here, thank you, but also we're a little upset with you, us teammates, because the one piece of trash talking we had over Stephen was he never had his degree. Now we can't use that anymore. But yeah, just seeing Stephen in a different, I've seen that as a student, as a teammate on the floor, but working with him for the underrated golf and underrated basketball, it's truly remarkable because, as Dell and Coach said it, he never forgets where he came from, and he's surrounded himself with people that the main goal is to elevate others, and we see him do that when he could just stand in front of all of us and take all the credit, but like Dell said, he allows everybody else to play a role. And so we all win as a team because Stephen wins. And I think that truly just tells you how good of a person he is, because when people ask me, what is Stephen like? I say, it's my same answer every single time. He's a better person than he is a basketball player.
That's fantastic. And what I love about the narrative arc of the movie is that he wins his 4th world championship, he's named MVP, and that's not the end. Where do they go then? They go to 28036, and they show him getting his Davidson degree. And for me, that means something special, and it's what closes the story of Underrated. And I'll just end with this. Yesterday, Game 4 of the first round of the NBA playoffs, he was lighting it up in the 4th quarter, and I was cheering. And my wife, Dr. Bagwell, came by, and she said, "What college did he go to again?" So we'll just leave it with that because everybody knows the answer to that question. Thanks. Let's hear it for these guys.